Good morning, or whatever it is wherever you are. Alright, so last time we sort of jammed this yesterday mode in there. One of the problems I've found with that is that the default animation query is actually running at the 1 second per. I mean, it's running at 10. Hey, S. Bruckman? Welcome. It's running at 10 frames per second, but it's still 1 second per frame, so that was not intended. So we need a better way to work out how we set speed in each mode. Eventually using something about monuments. So my quick hack to get something work at the time I cut off last time was to only send time information if we were going in end at now and then start at the period before. But this is in every case. Oh, but this also controlled auto setting the start point to exactly there. So yes, we did there, you do like 24 hours before, and this needs better adjustment because that's not an easy thing to do. This is also not a good range. So could I have... I could have all of these begin playback. Well, the begin playback... Do they auto-select the anim layer if we begin playback? Oh, and this doesn't have this time period, or this temporary data server doesn't actually have time before now, but it does auto-enable the time control. That it might auto-enable if you say play. But this said remove. So why are you on? Oop. Well, okay, so there was no date data, so I might believe that, which probably stopped it somewhere. That's in the time dimension source. Anim overlay dot on add. So we actually failed trying to add the layer, but still fired the event. Alright, so the quick and dirty fix for this, if we're doing now stuff, is to go hit live server, which might have to wake up. But the surface should have been in the cache. So that's saying show an animated layer, so we're going to switch to animated layer. So I almost need a separate thing that says, are we doing animated or data, which is a thing that I've also got here. No, wait a minute, we should know whether this is on or not. Now, this one would need to turn it on. But begin playback. So that action would still turn it on. Otherwise, we would only show this if it was animation mode. This is only really relevant if it's animation mode. And is this really the best UI for this? There are applications for showing both. But it could really be a radio group. Alright, that's a reasonable overlay. Search is really related to do this, but you do need a way to turn it off. Now search, I mean, you could close the bar, but that might be reasonable to say if this is closed. We don't need that. And that really is waking up the data server. Would I be better off doing local? It depends if I'm doing that. So search might be reasonable to not have as a, or to only be when I'm in this tab. And not have it be a direct overlay. This kind of needs to be data if it's shown. But I need to have a good way to get those things. I wonder if I should have like a canned visualization or what? Because this is... Maybe data would be reasonable as a layer. Because I can see doing data and then wanting to close. I thought that was selectable. Oh, no, there's no other layers on. Okay, I guess you can't select these, which you can only select from data layers. Oh, but that's another thing that currently uses the search overlay. And it's showing that, but it's not highlighting you. So if doing a selection on this, and I probably need to clear the field when we're doing selections like this. Opens you, and then switching off of that should probably clear the selection. That's not my immediate issue right now. Oh, and then this used to be the control for that, which probably time to move away from that. Okay, so special case for search. I don't think we do that. We don't do that. Select points. Okay, select points opens the sidebar, but it does not put us in search mode, which is sidebar mode. And okay, open close. That should probably hide search layer if it's closed. That would be a view event to change the tab. Sidebar mode equals mode. Do I have a message? Set view location, server list, data layer. Search overlay is a status, so yes. This is actually a command. Actually, we can just use mode here. Actually, this is switching. This is always going to be a on-off. Leaflet. I have message. What was it? Search overlay. All right, and also, if we entirely close, well, all right, one thing at a time. That seems to have compiled. We don't need to be hitting that server right now. All right, so search layer does not open it, does not close it, although crap, we only did changing layer at this stage, yeah. Map UI, this is sidebar toggle. So we need a slightly bigger condition now. Select point sits on. This is if the new state is which without building a new model first is not sidebar open. Or I guess we could say if it was, that's spool. And we're in that. Map UI. Oh, well, command none. So that may turn into a triple instead of a tuple. All right, so our default has that open. We switch back to there. I guess we could fill it with a bunch of data so it's easier to see when it's on or off. So that one I think is probably okay. Now if we go into here, that's going to show you the results. So one other little detail here is the if we select data, we should probably clear out that. Select points. That's probably a view event currently that's updating. Typing search term. So if we do U, and we switch over, yeah, okay, so we're not doing a search term anymore. All right, but that wasn't one of the problems I started with. Did I repurpose the command shell I was using? Server, checker, server, data server, I guess so. Only show search layer. At that point, I probably shouldn't have it in the control layer list. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Well, it's anytime we're in here, it should be on. Let's add to overlay search. Oh, I was using this. So we need to set you up as a variable for the thing to reference you as. Add to. On by default, add to. This is specifically this thing. That was all JavaScript stuff. All right, so it's not in the list. We still get it. We still hide it. Only show search layer when search tab is open. Alright, so that's one of the show hide things. We still have the issue that this is just called 48-hour burst. It should probably be... Well, it could be more like data. I still don't have a better UI paradigm for doing animation mode versus not animation mode. I guess I could have a separate little thing here. It's like when data is on. You can toggle time. I guess I could use like a dummy layer group to represent actually having this thing on. Now, it's not well set up with how we have things currently. Because we have an anim overlay which has a time dimension attached, and that's how it knows that it is doing anim mode versus just display all the data mode. So if we did it so it was one data layer, I would have to toggle that data layer in and out of animated mode. So you get the data twice. You add the time dimension control. Remove time dimension control. We default to that, switch over to you if it's playback. You say if options time dimension when you draw. So could I do something that toggled between time and data mode? The UI would get a little bit tricky because we would really only be valid to show that when this was up. And then it would be a button that replaced itself. Well, then I'd have to have a way to close this, so the other thing would still have to be there. The way these stack, they go up. So it wouldn't be that I could replace this with that control, because this is a third-party thing I'm using currently, which is nice because it handles a bunch of stuff for me. But it means I don't have as easy or direct customizability of this. I may have to leave this set up for now. So my more immediate problem. Change a different. I'm not sending the time scale if I just turn on this layer. We end up at 1 second per. Time steps, yeah, so we're defaulting to 1, which we need. And then we are setting transition time, start time, and game seconds per frame only when that UI does a begin playback message. So I could say, well, if I keep track of whether the animation layer is currently open, we could only begin playback if it's open, which is why I was thinking about the modes of that. But would you look something up and then switch over to here and have the wrong time scale? So one solution is to say, is it visible? And change the settings if it's not, but don't begin playback if it's not visible, which, well, it might not work anyway. But this mode specifically wants to make it visible. And that mode is one of the things using this currently. So I kind of wanted to say, well, if we're going to start playback, we need to be in animation mode. So what I did for a little bit was say, well, if we send the data layer, then we also need to send this thing. And I'm wondering if I can somehow set whether we're in animation mode or data mode to determine whether this thing is even relevant. Now, I've thought we could go as far as another sort of tab for time stuff, but really we just have like this and maybe that. Other option is change the default speed. But if you do any search that changes this, it's not going to do anything with it unless we also start playback. And the only way to actually set the seconds per frame is to start the player. So even if we sent the data, we'd still have the problem of starting playback. All right, well, we can take care of an easy one. So right now, all data we have is based on births. So this kind of wants to become data layer. But if I still have it display the current default data, you're like, okay, what is that? And that's currently also the method we have to communicate with the base application. Okay, so that gets the data. And we actually did get data. Okay, cool. And that is just the overlay add, so that is the hooks into there. Medium data layer, it's a start. I still want to find a better solution for time toggling. I guess I just needed a separate message that's like time parameters without assuming as much. Yeah, I don't know if I guess I'm gonna have to watch what I do and see which of these needs to be default. Right now I use this a lot, but I think I might want to actually make that bookmarkable. So until I find a better place for the rate, I might need to put that back in every data message. Or have a separate message just for setting time parameters without playback. Now I could have, instead of begin playback, I could have this with a extra field for whether to actually play. Be a total rename on it. Are you sending a time? Okay, so begin playback actually does have a time. Yeah, start time. Uh, and right now this implies switching to the anim layer. So start time, game seconds per second, frame rate. This is saying here's some data without saying whether we want to view it animated or not. But we've got an animation parameter. Yeah, I don't like, I kind of don't like, because usually you want one of these or the other. Does time dimension have any provision for extra controls? I don't think so. JSON control, time dimension, style, position, backward, forward, play, reverse. Oh, there's a loop button. Yeah. So if I want a thing that says open this, I don't then have a way to close it. If I do have a control here, it's going to stack. So then this will be even farther up. I could check whether this is open and send the play event if it's open. That would mean I could also track for this being enabled and then play it with those parameters if available. That might work in the interim. So, well, I might need a separate thing for yesterday. Mode specifically. So we want to say if open, which we need to track that. Sidebar open, sidebar mode. Center is kind of map data or map state. We're currently going to have no overlays enabled by default. So I could just keep a dict that has all currently enabled overlays. The model wouldn't really be saying anything about which ones I care about. Actually, I guess I wouldn't need a dict. A set would work for that. We have monuments fetched. So that's kind of map state. I don't have a really good organizing method here. That's that UI. This is init. We need definition of model. And then overlay add. So these still need to track that, even if it's a special case. Now overlay remove is down to not much. Well, you get the models, we just update the model first. Set.remove name from layers visible. General case is going to be Firefox does not like the color scheme, and it will not, and last I checked, it did not live update. Or it used to do that, and then it stopped. If you have to completely shut down the browser and restart to get it to change. All right. Is that build? Singleton. Okay, it's insert. Oh, wait. Model dot. All right, and then all of these. Yep, too late. Okay, so now we would have had to track, well, technically we only cared about this layer. We would have had to add a special remove case for it. But if we care about any other layers, that might come in handy. Oh. But I was matching against a very, very specific thing here. I don't have a name. Oh. You need the general name. Oh, I guess you didn't care about name. I just left that in there. All right, so then we want to determine oh, this actually adds more cases. Well, no, you are already a case. If this gets turned on... Oh. Well, this says only if there is no data layer do we request this. So this is already okay. However, we would want to say in the case we don't need to do that, so we always, if we get data layer, fetch recent lives, data layer, so that always begins at the, so, Okay, so actually it would be here. Right now we're saying if it's end time mode, do that. What we should probably say is if anim layer visible, do that. This is going to be a simple or if. It does change. This does change where it performs when we do that. Oop. So if we decided to start time, it would be relative to whatever endpoint we asked for. So that's modeled at hours before. That would be end time. But play relative to, okay, that would just be an update then. Which would doesn't change the model. So there's a higher level test. Layers visible. Which says, do we want to run animation? If we do, and it's from now, we do before now. If it's not, update play relative to model.endtime. Data layer equals data true. I think that's fine. And we have a tuple function. Oh, there's a tuple module. First and second. We need our set operation. Set.member, now arguments backwards. Model dot layers visible. Alright, so standard point data doesn't start anything. I actually would have expected to do it. Okay, so that did it. Oh, because the data was already required. Well, that might make it seem a little bit inconsistent, but we are going by minutes. So the from now doesn't work as well on this server. Okay, so that was still the old thing, just still running. So now we are... Oh, so I am on this server. So I guess it didn't allow me to set a time that was off the beginning of my time. Okay. All right, so typical use case. Well, atypical use case is come in here. Ooh. That did not work because it's anim layer. The point of this particular exercise is to show anim layer. All right, well, we've got a step. Start playback if anim layer visible. So actually one way to do this is we need to have a command that can do either that layer or arbitrary layers. And then we enable that when we start the search, which might be a little bit weird. But otherwise, we're not specifically tracking that we're in that mode. All right, so we've got search overlay status. Advantage is we don't need to know the name of that layer here. But if we start moving into controlling more of this, the alternate is we have a message for every single layer. So the string names make me a little bit uncomfortable. Well, yeah, because that's like search overlay. Well, I guess that's data layer. That could be like anim overlay. And then if we choose, we still, actually this is one where we already have to touch the name. See overlay visibility. All right, search overlay. Anim overlay. So then begin playback. Oh, now you see, this is very specific to the yesterday mode, and that we probably do want to make sure that that's removed. All right, so then when we do yesterday, we are specifically saying we want to be doing animation. And nothing about this is saying that, or that gives us information that that's what happens. So we have to do it here. And we have to expose that. All right, so if I come in here, okay, time not available. That's more than... That's more than 48 hours. This server didn't have... that much data. Oh. Okay, that's the require recent lives. Right, because yesterday is going to be get our cacheable query. with no period? Was there more than one of these? Preview, go away, please. There's servers. You should have a period. How can we not send that? Oopsie. I started fetching from here. I mean, it is just some recent lives, but it's not 48 hours. So we've been overfetching a wee bit. Nope. This was not the clean load case. And that is going to be 24